Coach, back in the win column here at St. Mary's in overtime, just what are some thoughts after tonight?
Boy, kind of a tale of two halves there. Really, we started out that game like we played the entire Pacific game. Just kind of sluggish, soft, not really competing. Talked about it at halftime, talked about it throughout the first half, but talked about it at halftime, and I think the kids kind of met and they made up their mind they were going to be a different team in the second half. I thought we competed much better. I thought our defense was a lot more engaged, locked in. I thought we found better ways to get better shots and just put ourselves in position to make some baskets. But I really think it kind of started with our defensive effort and honestly, Mara, that would be the last person who I would have necessarily thought would have sparked our defense. I've given her a hard time about that, but she really did. Her savvy and her, kind of figuring out how to get a hand here and a hand there and put some ball pressure on, allowed the other kids to kind of, get up and be a little bit more aggressive. And, I thought our defensive effort in the second half really allowed us to be more competitive.
Candy seemed to be the only one really doing anything in that first quarter down early. Just, what are your thoughts? She ended up with 28 points at her career high. Just what are her thoughts, like her ability to will this team to stay in the game?
Yeah, nobody could make a basket in that first half except Candy. And, really even down the stretch in the second half, we tried to do some things to isolate her, get her the ball in places where she could get a good shot or get to the free throw line. And then, she always does a great job of getting out in transition and getting some baskets that way on kick aheads, but she's been so solid for us and so consistent, and we really rely on her. We need to get some other players a little bit more confident in their ability to score so we can kind of spread the floor a little bit. But I thought Ina hit a huge shot at the end. I thought Mara hit some timely 3-point shots, but it was, again, just really proud of how they came back and responded. So yeah,
down double digits at halftime. I think it was 14 or 15 points. Just what was the message in the locker room in order to get this team kind of rolling in the second half?
Really just like, who are we? Who are you going to be? We didn't compete very hard, and we're getting pushed around and kind of played scared of their zone and really let them get momentum. And it looked pretty bleak there, and I really, there's not a whole lot of strategy that you can give them, not a whole lot of solutions, and that, it's your job as a coach to be able to provide some solutions. And really our biggest message was you've got to come out and play harder. You're getting punched. When are we going to kind of punch back? And I thought they found a way to do that much better than second half.
Obviously, St. Mary's forces overtime with a 3 late. How do you feel like the team responded after St. Mary's tied the game?
Really well. We just. You got to move on, next thing. Yeah, it would have been great if we could finish that in regulation, but hey, you put yourself in position from however many down at halftime to now go into overtime. Now you got to come out and you got to take this game. You got to figure out if you want to win this game, and then you got to be willing to do what you need to do and find ways to get that done. And they did. They took that to heart. They came out and they did not give in and did not give an inch. I thought they made some great defensive stands, especially that last one, 14 seconds, and up by a point, you got to get a stop without fouling, and we were able to do that.
Ina seems she has the ability to hit a big time shot or another go ahead or tying 3-pointer. With her taking that shot, how confident are you in her abilities to make those kind of shots?
Ina plays older than an 18-year-old freshman, and she's had to carry a huge load this year in terms of leadership and minutes and scoring and passing and IQ out on the court. She just had to carry a huge load, and but I trust her with the ball in her hands every single time, and I couldn't have drawn up a better person to get that last shot. That was, you want the ball in the hands of a confident shooter, a good shooter, and somebody that's just solid and consistent. And she's been that this year really well.
No, we had a slow start, ended up with 8 and 10 rebounds. What can you say about her bounce back in the second half with her ability to keep the game or keep possession? Excuse me.
Thought she got some big rebounds for us in the second half, and she needed to kind of get in there and get her hands on. We just this team we're always talking about. We got to get to loose balls. We've got to hold on to rebounds. We've got to get feet to a lot of 50-50 balls, and we're just kind of sometimes a step slow or a step late, or we react a little bit late. And I thought there was a conscious effort on everybody's part in the second half to to be the first one to the ball, to grab it and to hold on to it. Not perfect, never going to be perfect, but I thought there was just definitely a conscious effort to do that.
One last game at home on Thursday against LME, one of the best teams in the conference. Just what's the message entering that game?
I think we're going to need to show up from the tip. They're going to be out for blood. We beat them on their court, and they've only got a couple losses this year. They've got a veteran team. They're trying to position themselves to get a really good seed going into the WCC tournament. We're gonna need to play really, really well in order to be competitive with them.